This segment of the Alice Stewart Show is brought to you by Aero Plumbing. For all your household or business plumbing needs, call Aero Plumbing at 1-866-PLUMBER or schedule an appointment online at aeroplumbing.net.
Welcome back to the Alice Stewart Show, 7:37 on a nice Thursday morning. And President Clinton has been in town all this week for campaigning for many of the Democratic candidates. Was at UCA. He was at out in Jonesboro and up at Fayetteville as well, talking campaigns and politics and supporting the GOP. He also was yesterday, had an important event downtown. This was really in celebration of community-oriented policing. It was a great program that he started 20 years ago, which really works to help people be involved with their community. And Jessica, as you know, you've been in news before, the relationship between people and their local police department. It's so important just to have, not to be afraid of the police and just to have the good and police more out in the community and being more of a presence in the local communities.
Absolutely. I think the police can put off an intimidating presence just because of the uniform and their job.
Right.
But one of the things that I've learned with working with police from across the country, they're just like everybody else. And it's really important to create that relationship between the community and the police officer, so that there is a trust there.
Right. And what the former President Bill Clinton, Attorney General Eric Holder, and Mayor Mark Stodola talked about this, about the importance of citizens getting to know their neighbors also, and trying to prevent, and they continue to bring it back to what happened in Ferguson, Missouri, where a young man was tragically killed by police officers. And the community-oriented policing services is something that former President Bill Clinton signed into law 20 years ago this month. And they talked about, the president and Holder and the mayor talked about how it's a model example of how to get to know each other. Philosophy works. Since its inception, they've added about 100,000 officers all across the country, and the point is to aim police officers to interact and build trust among residents. President Clinton and Eric Holder spoke here in Little Rock. Exciting to have the U.S. Conference of Mayors event held down at the Clinton Presidential Center, and they talked about local police departments and governments working better to avoid situations like what happened in Ferguson, Missouri. And Eric Holder, who, as you know, went to Ferguson after that shooting, and he said with the community-oriented policing, he says they have noted a dramatic reduction in the nation's overall crime since the program began. And he says that a lot of more communities need to get involved. One of the things he said that stood out is that this is something that we can all do to clearly do our part to really open our eyes to the need. And everyone's eyes were opened up in Ferguson, Missouri. He says he traveled to Ferguson just after the incident, and he made a pledge that he was going to work and focus on the challenges that are out there in terms of building that bridge between citizens and police officer. And Mayor Stodola reinforced that they are very involved in building the relationship with the police department and the communities. And that's something that he wanted to stress and felt that was very important. He also noted that there's been a history of protests and incidents in our community about that. He noted back in the 90s, there was a time of, gang violence across Central America and in Little Rock. And the mayor noted that he had a hard time. He was a prosecutor back then. He had a hard time keeping witnesses alive, and you had to learn the gang language. And crime is a serious problem, and it's something that he has worked with as a prosecutor or mayor to really weed out. And all of those were important topics at this conference with the former President Bill Clinton and Eric Holder at the Conference of Mayors in Little Rock. We'll talk more about the issues that are going to be taking front and center stage over the next few weeks as we get closer to the midterm elections. We're going to take a break, and we come back. We will talk midterm elections as we get 25 days and counting. This segment of the Alice Stewart Show brought to you by Arrow Plumbing. For all of your household or business plumbing needs, go to arrowplumbing.net.